The sky over Velara had turned dark with incoming storm clouds, but it was not rain that threatened the planet this time. Far beyond the horizon, Drexen warships loomed more numerous than ever before. Their fleet stretched like a black river through space, carrying thousands of soldiers, tanks, and weapons of destruction. On the ground, the Velari looked up at the skies, fear gripping their hearts. Weeks ago they had seen death arrive in Drexen claws, and though humans had defeated the first wave, the thought of this second invasion was terrifying. Ilarin gathered the people in the largest remaining plaza. "They will come," she said, her voice steady. "But we are not alone. The humans, they will fight with us again. Trust in them." A mother clutched her child. "Can they defeat all of them?" she asked, voice trembling. Ilarin looked toward the shadow of the war machines above. "They can, they will." Humans are not ordinary warriors. And these machines, they are more than weapons. They are guardians. We must have faith. The human fleet prepares high above the planet. The human war machines rotated into position. Drones swarmed the skies, scanning the approaching Drexen fleet. On board the lead war machine, Admiral Jonas Hale studied the sensor readings. "They're bringing their full fleet," Captain Reyes said, her eyes narrowing. "This is not a simple attack. They want to crush Velara completely." Hale's jaw tightened. "Then we will not let them. Prepare the warsuits. Deploy defensive drones around the cities. The civilians must be shielded at all costs. We cannot let them suffer again." Inside the massive machine, pilots checked their systems, weapons loaded and shields at maximum. Every drone received precise coordinates. Every warsuit pilot memorized patrol routes and target lists. Humans fought with discipline, strategy, and unity. Their machines were not only tools of destruction, they were instruments of protection. The first strike. The Drexen fleet arrived at dawn. Their ships opened fire on Velara, releasing missiles and plasma bolts toward the human war machines. On the ground, Drexen dropships deployed soldiers into the cities, their weapons ready to burn and destroy. But the humans responded immediately. Energy beams from the war machines lit the sky, cutting through Drexen ships with precise accuracy. Swarms of drones intercepted missiles, exploding them in flashes of blue light. On the ground, warsuits moved through the streets with thunderous steps. They intercepted Drexen soldiers before they could reach civilians. With careful precision, they cleared blocks and alleyways, shielding the Velari from harm. The battle was terrifying, yet organized. Humans did not panic. Humans did not run. They moved with a calm that belied the chaos surrounding them. Drexen Desperation Commander Korak watched the battlefield from his flagship. His fleet, massive as it was, could not penetrate the human defenses. Every attack was anticipated, every maneuver countered. "They are impossible to defeat," one officer shouted. "Their ships, their machines, they are too strong." Korak's scales darkened with rage. "Impossible, no. We are the Horde. Nothing can stop us." But even as he roared, another human war machine emerged from hyperspace above the planet. Its appearance was sudden, a massive shadow blocking the sun. Drexen ships scattered in panic. Korak's hands shook. They keep coming. How can one species bring this much force?" He realized too late that the humans were not just fighting to win. They were fighting to end the threat completely. The ground battle on Velara. Drexen soldiers had reached a critical district. Families were trapped inside collapsed buildings. The streets were narrow, making it difficult for warsuits to move. A group of human pilots descended into the area. One warsuit lifted a fallen wall with ease, creating a path for civilians to escape. Another fired a plasma cannon, cutting through Drexen barricades without harming nearby homes. The Velari could hardly believe their eyes. Every action was precise. Every shot was controlled. It was as if the humans understood the balance between destruction and protection better than any race they had known. Children ran through safe paths, guided by humans in war suits. Mothers and elders followed, their trust absolute. "We are safe," one elder whispered, tears in his eyes. "They will not let harm come to us." The ultimate weapon above the city, Admiral Hale gave a quiet order. "Prepare the Mercy Protocol." Captain Reyes blinked. "Sir, it's ready, but the Drexen fleet is too large. We cannot fire indiscriminately." Hale's voice was calm but firm. "It is not indiscriminate. It targets the guilty. Civilians will be protected. This is our chance to end this without more innocent lives lost." The war machines shifted position. Massive energy shields expanded around the Velari cities, creating safe zones for civilians. At the same time, the human war machines focused all their firepower on the Drexen flagship, the largest vessel in the invading fleet. The Velari watched from below as beams of concentrated energy struck the flagship. Explosions tore through its hull. One after another, Drexen ships fell. The human war machines moved with a deadly precision, ensuring no civilian area was touched. The Drexen Collapse Commander Korak's flagship rocked under the repeated human assault. Alarm screamed and his crew panicked. "Commander!" "We cannot hold." Korak's eyes burned with fury. "Then die trying." He attempted one final strike against the lead war machine, but it was anticipated. A swarm of drones intercepted his weapons, disabling his systems. With a final explosion, the Drexen flagship shattered. The remaining ships, leaderless and disorganized, fled into deep space. The battle that had seemed impossible just hours before was now over. On the streets of Velara, the survivors cheered. They had witnessed something miraculous. The humans had not only defeated the Drexen, they had protected the innocent, shown mercy, and ended the threat in a way no one else could have imagined. Aftermath, as the dust settled, the Velari began to gather their people. Survivors hugged one another, tears flowing freely. Buildings could be rebuilt. Families could be reunited. But the Velari knew they owed their lives to the humans. Alarin walked among the war machines, staring up at the massive steel guardians. "Why do you fight like this?" she asked aloud, though she knew no human would answer directly. Captain Reyes stepped down from her war suit, speaking through a translator device. "Because someone has to. Because mercy is not just a word. It is action, and we will act wherever the innocent are in danger." The Velari bowed their heads, humbled. They had called for help and received far more than they could have imagined. A lesson for the galaxy in orbit above Velara, the human war machines drifted silently, scanning for any remaining Drexen threats. They had fought decisively, yet they did not celebrate. For them, war was never glory. It was responsibility. Admiral Hale looked down at the planet below. "The Drexen will learn that mercy can be stronger than fear," he said quietly. "And the Velari will know that they are not alone." Captain Reyes nodded. "Do you think the rest of the galaxy will take notice?" Hale's eyes narrowed. "They will. They will remember what humans are capable of, and they will think twice before ignoring cries for help again." The first human war machines had arrived, fought, and won, but their presence in the galaxy was more than a show of strength. It was a message: mercy is powerful, protection is strength, and humans would not stand by while others suffered. Far beyond the stars of the Solara cluster, the planet Erendor rotated slowly under a pale blue sun. Its cities shimmered with soft light, and its forests breathed quietly under the gentle winds. For centuries, the Thalrin, the planet's native inhabitants, had lived peacefully. They were tall, slender beings with silver skin and eyes that reflected the colors of their surroundings. Their society was built on cooperation, art, and science. They valued wisdom over power and harmony over conquest. But that peace was fragile. From the outer edges of the galaxy, rumors of a violent species called the Varkari had begun to spread. The Varkari were known for their cruelty and cunning in battle. Entire planets had fallen before them, often destroyed before the inhabitants could react. The Thalrin knew that their fragile world could not survive an attack. High in the spire of Erendor's central city, the Thalrin Council gathered. Councillor Lyri, one of the wisest and oldest Thalrin, addressed the assembly. "Our sensors detect a Varkari fleet approaching. They will reach our system within 3 standard days. We have no weapons capable of stopping them." A murmur ran through the council chamber. The Thalrin rarely spoke in anger or fear, but this threat stirred something ancient in them, a fear they had never faced in living memory. "We cannot face them alone," Lyri continued. "We must seek help beyond our world. There is a species far across the stars, humans. They are strong, unpredictable, and known to fight against impossible odds. Perhaps they can aid us," another counselor, Virine, frowned. "Humans, we have only heard stories. Some say they are reckless, others say they are heroes. Can we trust such beings with our lives?" Lyri shook his head slowly. "Trust may not be the right word, but desperation leaves us no choice. If we are to survive, we must send a plea and hope they answer. We must ask for mercy, though I fear mercy alone may not save us." The council agreed. Using their most advanced communication arrays, they sent a stellar message toward the human-controlled systems. The message was simple yet urgent. We seek aid against a threat beyond our capacity. Mercy is all we ask. Will you help us? Across the galaxy, aboard the human vessel USS Intrepid, Captain Celine Drake studied the incoming transmission. The ship's sleek silver hull gleamed as it cut through the void, and inside, crew members moved with efficiency and purpose. Drake had been called many things, a hero, a strategist, even reckless, but she considered herself simply a human trying to survive and protect. Her ship's AI, Orion, spoke in a calm, precise tone. Captain, this message originates from Arendor, a previously uncontacted planet. They report an imminent attack by a species called the Varkari. The request is for assistance. Drake leaned back in her chair, fingers tapping the armrest. Mercy, huh? That's a polite way to say help us or die. How many days until the Varkari arrive? 3 standard days, Orion replied. Based on trajectory and speed calculations, the fleet will enter the Arendor system within 72 hours. Drake's eyes narrowed. 3 days. That's just enough time to make a difference or get ourselves into trouble. She turned to her crew. Plot a course to Arendor. Prepare the fleet for potential conflict. This may be the kind of problem humans were born to handle. The crew responded with practiced efficiency. Within minutes, the USS Intrepid and its supporting vessels accelerated toward Arendor at near light speed. On board, the humans discussed the incoming mission with a mix of excitement and caution. Lieutenant Raj Patel, the ship's tactical officer, spoke up. Captain, the Thalren sound peaceful. They asked for mercy. Are we sure they want us to fight? Drake smiled faintly. Mercy often needs teeth, Lieutenant. Sometimes the best way to show mercy is to fight harder than anyone else would dare. Back on Arendor, the Thalren monitored the stars anxiously. Days passed slowly as their sensors detected nothing but the cold darkness of space. The Varkari fleet was out there, moving closer with calculated precision. Counselor Lyrae paced the floor of the observation hall. Will the humans come? Or have we wasted the last hope for our people? Viren tried to calm him. The humans are known across the galaxy for their persistence. If they received our message, I believe they will come. But they are unpredictable, Lyrae muttered. We do not know if they will arrive in time, or if their arrival will bring chaos along with protection. The first signs of the human fleet came as tiny blips on the long-range sensors. Within hours, the ships appeared, their silver hulls reflecting the light of Arendor's sun. The Thalren had never seen a species like humans before. Their ships were practical yet versatile, designed not just for battle but for adaptability. When the humans landed, the Thalren were awed by their presence. Captain Drake led her team onto the surface, wearing a standard human exosuit that allowed her to breathe and move comfortably in Arendor's atmosphere. Her crew followed, each member carrying tools and equipment that hinted at both defense and exploration. Counselor Lyrae greeted them with a mixture of hope and fear. You have come, he said. We asked for mercy and now you are here. Drake inclined her head. We came as quickly as we could. Tell me everything. What are we facing? Viren stepped forward and projected a hologram of the Varkari fleet. The display showed sleek, dark ships armed with advanced weaponry, moving toward Arendor at high speed. They will reach our system in 3 days, Viren explained. We have no defenses capable of stopping them. Our cities, our people, everything is at risk. Drake studied the hologram, tapping her chin. 3 days isn't much time, but humans have a habit of making impossible odds look easy. We'll need to understand the terrain, your technology, and your people's strengths. Lyrae hesitated.
We are not warriors.
We do not fight. Our technology is focused on knowledge, not combat. Then we will adapt, Drake said firmly. We humans are not natural diplomats in the way your species is. We fight, we strategize, and we win. I promise we will do everything in our power to protect your world. The Thalren Council was relieved but uneasy. They had asked for mercy, expecting protection and careful defense. What they received instead was a group of beings ready to act decisively and perhaps violently. That evening, as the twin moons of Arendor rose above the horizon, Drake walked among the Thalren, observing their culture. The streets glowed with bioluminescent lights and fountains of crystal-clear water reflected the stars. Children played in the plazas, unaware of the danger looming in the skies. Drake felt a weight in her chest. This world was fragile and beautiful, unlike any battlefield she had faced before. Protecting it would require more than guns and ships. It would require courage, cunning, and a willingness to act where others might hesitate. Later, in the command tent set up in the city's central square, Drake gathered her officers. "Here's what we know," she began, pointing to a map of the planet. "The Varkari will not negotiate. They are conquerors. The Thalran asked for mercy and we will give it. But to give mercy, we must fight first. Our job is simple: protect the people, defend the cities, and stop the fleet before it reaches the surface." "Got it?" "Understood, Captain," the officers chorused. Drake's eyes swept over the human faces before her. Each one showed determination, courage, and a spark of excitement. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but unpredictability could be a weapon just as deadly as any laser cannon. As night fell over Arendor, the Thalran watched the stars, sensing a shift in the galaxy. Their hope rested not in diplomacy, not in pleas, but in the strength and ingenuity of a species they barely understood. Mercy had been asked for, but the humans who had arrived were about to deliver something far more powerful. In the silent shadows, Captain Drake stood, staring at the approaching stars. 3 days, she whispered. 3 days to save a world. Let's make them count. The stage was set. Across the galaxy, the first chapter of humanity's intervention had begun, a chapter that would change the Thalran forever and leave a mark on the Varkari that no one could forget. The next morning, the twin suns of Arendor rose over the horizon, casting long shadows across the crystalline spires of the Thalran cities. The humans had already begun their work. Engineers and tacticians moved through the streets with efficient precision, setting up equipment, scanning the terrain, and creating defensive perimeters. Captain Celine Drake surveyed the scene from a high observation platform. Beside her stood Lieutenant Raj Patel and Communications Officer Mira Chen. "They're beautiful, aren't they?" Raj whispered, gesturing to the city below. Drake nodded. "Yes, but beauty doesn't stop a fleet of killers. 3 days isn't much time. We need to understand everything. Terrain, tech, the people themselves." Mira pointed at a holographic map projecting the surrounding area. "Sensors show that the Varkari fleet is already on a direct path to the outer atmosphere. They're faster than we expected. We can't wait for them to strike. We need to act." Drake's eyes narrowed. "Then let's start planning. But first we need to understand the Thalran. They are peaceful, yes, but that doesn't mean they're helpless. If we can integrate their knowledge with our strategies, we might have a chance to turn this into a clean victory." Counselor Lyrae arrived to guide the humans through the city's central command hub. "Our defenses are minimal," he admitted. "We have shields around the main cities, but they can only last for hours against advanced weapons. We rely mostly on diplomacy, not combat. Our people do not fight." Drake studied him carefully. "Diplomacy is one thing, Lyrae, but the Varkari will not respond to words. We humans act differently. We fight when necessary, and we adapt constantly. We will need your cooperation, your knowledge of your cities, terrain, and technologies." Lyrae nodded slowly. "Anything to protect our people. I only hope your methods do not harm them in ways we cannot repair." Drake smiled faintly. "We'll try to be careful, but sometimes to save a life you must risk everything else." Over the next several hours, the humans and Thalran worked together to map every city and every strategic point. Sensors and drones flew across forests, rivers, and mountains, recording details that could be used to set traps, hide defensive units, and predict possible Varkari landing sites. The Thalran were fascinated by the humans' methods. Where they had sought subtlety and caution, the humans sought boldness and opportunity. Captain Drake proposed defensive strategies that relied not just on shields and weapons, but on creativity and unpredictability, something humans excelled at. Lieutenant Patel grinned as he studied a topographical map. "We could use the forest to create false trails for the Varkari, funneling them into traps. They'll expect open assaults, not guerrilla tactics." Counselor Viran looked puzzled. "Guerrilla tactics, traps? We have never thought of such things. Our goal is always harmony, not conflict." Drake nodded. "Exactly. That's why humans are here. We fight when necessary, but we do it smartly. And sometimes our smartness looks like madness to others." Meanwhile, high above Arendor, the Varkari fleet was already forming. Dark metallic ships cut through space with terrifying speed. Their commanders, ruthless and calculating, were confident of victory. They had never faced a species like the Thalran. but they assumed the same outcome, swift conquest. Back on the planet, Drake and her team were already putting plans into motion. Small squads of humans moved through forests, learning to coordinate silently with the Thalran scouts. The aliens were quick learners, fascinated by human improvisation. One Thalran, named Saren, proved especially adept at using natural terrain for strategic advantage. "Captain," Saren said, "we can use the cliffs here to block their sensors. If we position your units carefully, the Varkari will not see the traps until it is too late." Drake smiled. "Good work, Saren. Humans call this using the environment as a weapon. We'll need more ideas like that. Keep thinking creatively." The humans also began teaching the Thalran how to operate simple defensive weapons. Though they had never fought before, the Thalran adapted quickly, their minds open to new techniques. Their hands were steady, their movements precise, and their willingness to learn impressed even the seasoned human warriors. By the second day, the Varkari were dangerously close. Their fleet cast dark shadows across the planet's upper atmosphere, reflecting ominously in the oceans and lakes. The Thalran had never felt fear like this before. It was distant at first, then growing like a storm building on the horizon. Counselor Lyrae gathered his people in the main hall. "The humans fight differently than we do. We must trust them. Their methods may seem harsh or strange, but their goal is the same as ours: survival." Many Thalran nodded, though some remained uneasy. Their culture prized calm, patience, and precision, and the humans' bold and unpredictable ways unsettled them. Outside, Captain Drake addressed her crew. "Tomorrow the Varkari arrive. We've prepared defenses, mapped terrain, and trained our allies. But remember, nothing goes perfectly in battle. We will need courage, adaptability, and a willingness to take risks." Lieutenant Patel frowned.
"Captain, the Thalran asked for mercy, not for us to fight."
"Do you think we are doing the right thing?" Drake's eyes softened. "Mercy isn't always gentle, Lieutenant. Sometimes mercy requires action, decisiveness, even force. If we do our jobs, the Thalran will live, and the Varkari will learn not to underestimate humanity." As night fell, humans and Thalran worked side by side to finalize the defenses. The cities were surrounded with energy shields, but the real advantage lay in clever positioning and innovative traps. Small squads of humans hid among the cliffs and forests, preparing ambushes. Drones patrolled the skies silently, feeding data back to the command center. The Thalran marveled at these machines, which could fly for days and relay information faster than any of their sensors. Even the children of Arendor watched in awe from safe areas, fascinated by the humans' preparation. For the first time, they began to understand that survival sometimes required more than hope. It required action. Captain Drake walked among them, checking details and encouraging both humans and Thalran alike. She noticed a young Thalran girl carefully positioning sensor markers in the forest. Drake knelt beside her. "Careful placement is important," Drake said gently. "A small change here can make all the difference." The girl nodded seriously. "I want to help protect my home," Drake smiled. "You are already helping. Never underestimate what one person can do. Together we can change the outcome." By the final hours before the Varkari arrival, tension gripped the planet. The Thalran cities glowed with protective energy. The forests held hidden squads of humans, and every strategic point had been analyzed and prepared. From orbit, Drake watched the horizon. "They are coming," she said softly. "And when they arrive, they will see what humans and our allies can do." The Thalran, though still anxious, felt a spark of hope. They had asked for mercy, and the humans had brought something far more formidable: a willingness to fight for them, to protect them, and to win against impossible odds. In the silent hours before dawn, Arendor waited. The stage was set. The humans were ready, and somewhere in the void, the Varkari fleet approached, unaware that they were about to encounter a species that would change their expectations forever. Captain Drake turned to her officers. "Tomorrow we show them what humans can do, not just for us, but for every being who deserves a chance to live. Remember courage, creativity, and teamwork. Let's make history." And with that, the humans and Thalran waited together for the coming storm, an encounter that would test courage, strategy, and the unyielding spirit of humanity. The dawn of Arendor's twin suns barely illuminated the horizon when the first Varkari ships appeared. They moved like dark predators across the stars, their metallic hulls glinting ominously. The Thalren watched from the crystal spires of their cities, fear gripping their hearts for the first time. These were not gentle beings. They were conquerors, and their approach carried only destruction. Captain Celine Drake stood at the command hub atop one of the tallest observation towers. Her human crew surrounded her, each member tense but ready. "They're here," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Remember our plan? Observation first, then strike. We are not here to negotiate. We are here to protect." Lieutenant Raj Patel pointed to the holographic display. "Captain, they're deploying scout drones ahead of the main fleet. They'll detect our positions if we move too soon." Drake's lips curled into a small smile. "Then we move differently. Humans are unpredictable, and that's exactly what they don't expect." Outside, the humans and Thalren waited in hidden positions. Small squads were stationed along forested ridges, mountain passes, and cliff edges. Traps, decoys, and improvised defenses lay in wait. The Thalren had been skeptical, but now they watched the humans with a mixture of awe and fear. The first Varkari drone approached the outer perimeter of Arendor. It emitted a low mechanical hum as it scanned the area. A Thalren scout, Saren, gestured nervously to the humans. "It will see us." "What do we do?" Drake shook her head. "No, let it see the decoys." She pressed a button on her wrist device, activating holographic images that mimicked large formations of troops in nearby clearings. The drone swerved, its sensors detecting an apparent army far larger than it was. The Varkari fleet advanced, confident in their ability to crush any opposition. But humans and Thalren had prepared an unexpected strike, something no one had dared to attempt. Drake tapped her communicator. "Phase 1 begins. Use every advantage. Force them to fight on our terms." Hidden squads emerged from the forests like shadows. Small energy pulses and precision blasts disabled several Varkari drones in seconds. The Thalren gasped as they watched these humans, who had never seen a battle like this, move with daring and coordination. Captain Drake led the main human unit along a hidden ridge overlooking the Varkari landing site. "Ready?" she asked. The team nodded. "Then we begin." Using the natural terrain, the humans deployed an array of improvised weapons: magnetic nets to immobilize ships, energy disruptors to confuse sensors, and small drones to harass enemy forces. The Varkari were experienced warriors, but they had never faced such chaotic ingenuity. The first wave of Varkari ships attempted to land near the main Thalren city. As they descended, the humans activated hidden defenses. Magnetic nets snagged the hulls, energy pulses scrambled their guidance systems, and decoy holograms drew their fire into empty clearings. The Thalren watched in astonishment. "They are unstoppable," whispered Counselor Lyrae. Drake heard him and smiled faintly. "Not unstoppable, just unpredictable. That's what humans do best." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Patel and a squadron of sharpshooters targeted the Varkari scouts with precision. Every move was calculated, yet appeared daring. The Thalren struggled to understand the humans' methods. Where they had expected careful planning, the humans relied on bold, aggressive improvisation. Yet each risk paid off. One Varkari ship tried to break through the defenses, aiming straight for the city. A Thalren scientist, Taylor, who had been trained to operate defensive systems by the humans, activated a pulse emitter that sent the ship spinning out of control. The humans quickly followed with energy nets, bringing it to a halt. The Varkari were confused. "How are they doing this?" one commander hissed through their translator devices. "No other species fights with such unpredictability." Drake's team moved swiftly. "We hit them where they don't expect," she said. "We disrupt, confuse, and then strike. They think they are in control, but they are not." Hours passed in a blur of energy pulses, controlled explosions, and rapid maneuvers. The Varkari fleet tried to regroup, but the humans' unconventional tactics created chaos. They used the forests, mountains, and rivers to their advantage, setting traps that seemed almost impossible to detect. The Thalren were amazed. "We asked for mercy," said Lyrae, "and yet they fight with such brilliance and force." "It is awe-inspiring," Drake replied without looking away from the battlefield. "Mercy is not giving the enemy a chance to destroy your people. Mercy is winning when they think you cannot. That is why humans fight the way we do." Small Varkari ships tried to retreat, but humans anticipated every move. Drones and ground units coordinated perfectly, cutting off escape routes and disabling engines with non-lethal but effective measures. The humans were not just fighting, they were orchestrating a symphony of chaos, turning every disadvantage into an advantage. By mid-afternoon, the Varkari were in disarray. Their once confident fleet was scattered, with ships disabled or retreating. The humans in Thalrin had achieved something remarkable, a full-scale strike that disrupted an enemy far superior in technology and numbers. Captain Drake gathered her officers in a temporary command tent. "This is only the beginning," she said. "We've shown them what we can do, but the Varkari will adapt. We need to be ready for their next move. Stay sharp, stay creative, and trust your instincts." Lieutenant Patel frowned.
Captain, the Thalrin are watching.
They asked for mercy. They did not expect this level of aggression. "Are we going too far?" Drake shook her head. "No, Lieutenant. Mercy is not weakness. Sometimes it is strength. And right now our strength is keeping their world alive. That is all that matters." The Thalrin began to see the humans in a new light. These beings, so different from their own kind, combined courage, intelligence, and creativity in ways they had never imagined. They moved not with brute force alone, but with a calculated daring that seemed almost impossible. Even the children of Arendor, watching from safe areas, felt a mixture of fear and inspiration. "They are humans," one child whispered. "They fight like heroes." By evening, the Varkari forces were forced to retreat from the immediate battlefield. Small groups attempted to regroup, but the humans had already anticipated their movements, cutting off supply lines and communication channels. The Thalrin cities were safe for now, and their people had survived their first encounter with war. Counselor Lyrae approached Captain Drake. "You have done what we thought impossible. Our cities are safe, our people are alive. Yet the way you fight, it is unlike anything we have seen. It is frightening and yet remarkable." Drake smiled faintly. "That's humans for you. We do what is necessary to survive, to protect, and to win. Fear and admiration often come together. That is part of being human." Saren, the Thalrin scout, added, "We asked for mercy, and yet in your actions you have given us life. Not just life, but hope." Drake placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "Hope is only as strong as those willing to fight for it. And today, humans fight for it. Tomorrow we will be even stronger." As night fell, Arendor's twin moons reflected on the forests and cities below. Humans and Thalrin worked side by side to repair damage, improve defenses, and prepare for the next encounter. The Thalrin began to understand that mercy alone is not always enough. Sometimes it requires action, courage, and an unyielding spirit. The humans had shown them something extraordinary, a willingness to face impossible odds and win. The Varkari would not forget this day. Humanity had arrived not just to help, but to demonstrate what it meant to fight for life, justice, and survival. Captain Drake looked at the stars, knowing that this was only the beginning. The Varkari would regroup, and the battles ahead would be more difficult. But she also knew one truth. Humans were unpredictable, relentless, and capable of remarkable courage. "Tomorrow," she whispered to herself, "we fight again, and we will not lose." The Thalrin slept that night with hope in their hearts. They had asked for mercy, and while humans had delivered war, it was war that brought life, protection, and a promise that they were not alone in the galaxy. The morning after the first encounter, Arendor was alive with cautious activity. The Varkari fleet, though scattered and temporarily retreating, was regrouping in orbit, preparing for another assault. The Thalrin, once untested in war, had begun to see humans in a new light. Where they had imagined helplessness, they now saw determination, courage, and creative brilliance. Captain Celine Drake walked through the forested ridges with Lieutenant Raj Patel and Communications Officer Mira Chen. "They'll return," Drake said. "We can expect a larger attack. The Varkari are smart and they'll adapt. But so will we," Mira nodded. "The Thalrin are still uneasy. They asked for mercy, and I think they are not used to such aggressive protection." Drake smiled faintly. "Mercy is often misunderstood. Mercy isn't stopping the fight. Mercy is winning the fight so the innocent survive. That's what humans do." Back in the command hub, maps, holographic displays, and sensor readings covered every surface. Humans and Thalrin worked side by side to create a new plan. The Varkari's tactics were predictable in one sense. They relied on overwhelming force, but humans were masters of adaptation. "Lieutenant," Patel pointed at a map of the main valley leading to the largest Thalrin city. "We can use the cliffs here and the rivers there. Force them through a narrow path, then strike from multiple sides. Drake nodded. Good. Add the decoy villages and false trails. They'll waste time attacking empty zones while our real defenses remain hidden. Saren, can your scouts help us adjust the traps in real time? Saren, the Thalran scout, nodded. Yes, Captain. We can use our terrain sensors and communicate silently with the human squads. The Varkari won't know what hit them. It was a combination of human ingenuity and Thalran local knowledge, something no other species could achieve. As the sun climbed high, distant blips appeared on sensors. The Varkari fleet was approaching faster than expected. Clearly frustrated by their earlier losses, Captain Drake gathered her teams. Today, she said, we do not just defend. We take the fight to them. They think we are weak, disorganized. We'll show them what humans and our allies can do when we fight together. Squads moved silently through forests, climbed ridges and positioned themselves near rivers and ravines. Every soldier carried both weapons and improvisation tools, grappling hooks, magnetic disruptors, and energy pulses. Drones hovered above, ready to confuse and disorient the enemy. The Thalran watched quietly, still unsure of the human methods, yet slowly gaining confidence. The humans' confidence was contagious. The first wave of Varkari ships descended into the valley, unaware of the traps awaiting them. As they moved, hidden energy nets immobilized the lead ships while decoy holograms drew their fire away from human positions. Small squads of sharpshooters disabled engines, sensors, and weapons with precision blasts. The humans coordinated every movement as if the battlefield were a single living entity. Every attack forced the Varkari into mistakes, and every mistake was exploited immediately. The Thalran gasped, astonished at the speed and efficiency. Counselor Lyrae whispered to Virain. They asked for mercy, yet these humans fight with such intensity. It is terrifying and inspiring. Virain nodded slowly. We are witnessing a species that fights not for conquest but for life. Their courage. It is beyond our imagination. Captain Drake led a small unit along the cliffs using grappling hooks to descend behind enemy lines. They deployed pulse emitters to disrupt Varkari sensors and launched magnetic nets to immobilize their ships. It was daring, almost reckless, but every move worked. From above, drones relayed real-time data to human commanders. With every maneuver, the Varkari were forced into confusion. Their ships collided, engines overloaded, and small groups were trapped in narrow canyons where humans and Thalran attacked from all sides. One Varkari commander, frustrated and bewildered, demanded answers from his subordinates. Why are they so unpredictable? How can a species so small and unarmed disrupt an entire fleet? Back on the ground, Drake heard the report through captured communications. She smiled. Because humans don't just fight, they think, adapt, and act. We use every advantage, and we don't quit. Hours passed in a blur of combat. The Varkari had superior numbers and advanced technology, but the humans' unconventional strategies gave them the upper hand. They used the environment, timing, and misdirection to control the battlefield. The Thalran, once passive observers, began assisting more actively. They activated energy barriers, guided squads, and even manipulated local wildlife to create distractions. Children and civilians, safe behind shields, watched from a distance. They had never seen such a display. For the first time, they understood that survival sometimes required bold action, creativity, and courage. Saren, observing a particularly daring maneuver, said quietly to Lyrae, I did not believe this was possible. The humans fight like nothing we have ever seen. They are extraordinary. Lyrae nodded, unable to hide his amazement. We asked for mercy, yet they deliver a force stronger than any threat we could have imagined. By late afternoon, the Varkari fleet was fragmented. Ships were disabled, scattered, or retreating. Their communication lines were compromised and morale was crumbling. Captain Drake knew this was the turning point. Now, she ordered, we finish this. Push them back and prevent any regrouping. Precision, speed, and coordination. Every squad knows their role. The humans struck from all directions, forcing the Varkari to retreat further into space. Using clever traps, ambushes, and technological disruption, they ensured that the Varkari could not regroup quickly. Even small Thalran units contributed, guided by human strategy. One by one, enemy ships were disabled or forced out of the battle. By nightfall, the valley was silent except for the hum of human drones and the soft glow of Arendor's energy shields. The Thalrin emerged from their hiding places, awe and gratitude on their faces. Counselor Lyrie approached Captain Drake. "You have done what we could not imagine. Our people are safe, our cities remain intact, and the Varkari have retreated. We asked for mercy, and instead you unleashed a power unlike any we have ever known." Drake smiled, a mixture of pride and humility in her expression. "Mercy is not always gentle, Lyrie. Sometimes it is action, determination, and the courage to face impossible odds. Today, mercy meant fighting to protect your people no matter the cost." Saren stepped forward, eyes wide. "We have learned so much from you. Your courage, your creativity. It gives us hope. Perhaps humans are what the galaxy needs. Strength tempered with honor." Drake placed a hand on his shoulder. "Humans are just humans. But when we fight for something worth protecting, we become more than ourselves. That is what you have witnessed today." As night fell on Arendor, the twin moons reflected off the forests and rivers. Humans and Thalrin worked side by side to repair minor damage and prepare for any further threats. The Thalrin, once passive and fearful, now understood a simple truth. Survival required courage, creativity, and action. Even the youngest Thalrin whispered to one another about the humans' bravery. "They are unlike anyone else," said one child. "They fight for others, not just themselves." Captain Drake stood atop the observation tower gazing at the stars. "This is only the beginning," she said quietly to herself. "The Varkari will return, stronger and smarter. But so will we, and when they come, they will see what humans can do, and they will learn never to underestimate us." The Thalrin slept that night with hope in their hearts. Humans had shown them a new way, one that combined courage, ingenuity, and unwavering determination. Mercy had been asked for, but humans had delivered something far more powerful. Life, protection, and the unyielding spirit of a species willing to fight for what is right. And across the galaxy, the first legend of humanity's intervention began to spread. A story of cleverness, bravery, and an unbreakable will that would echo in the stars for generations to come.